This is my nose.
No.
Because I could have sworn every time y'all were singing, I was just like doing this. Probably before one of my swim meets. I used to swim a lot in high school, and I was going through some personal insecurities regarding my body, and my relationship with God wasn't really the best. And before I had to do my 200, which is in parentheses 8 laps, I felt like I was about to pass out because I didn't muster up, I guess, the practice, but also the strength within my mind and my spirit to actually go through with the 200 relay.
I would say one time when I was in college, I had an anxiety attack. I was feeling very lost, and I like to overthink, which is a bad thing that no one should do. It got to like a point where like I literally was like hyperventilating, like they're like sliding down the wall like they do in the movies. So like trying to remind myself of like the scriptures I would tell myself when I was little to get me through that time when I couldn't breathe.
All right, the first question is, describe a time where it felt like you couldn't breathe.
A time when I felt like I could not breathe. Well, it's ironic that you asked that because I actually have panic attacks sometimes, or I used to. And so it's very, very scary. But it came from a place of stress and feeling like I was out of control, which I was, but I didn't want to release that control, and it gave me anxiety, bad anxiety, and I couldn't breathe with those panic attacks.
Can you describe a moment where it felt like even breathing was too much and no one knew?
Can you say it one more time? Do I recall a time when I couldn't breathe and nobody knew? Yeah, I was drowning in the water one time. And say no. Way back when?
Yeah. Describe a time where it felt like you couldn't breathe.
I would say that there was a time when I had a lot going on, and I was praying to God about it, and it seemed like there was no way that I could release what I really felt to anybody. So it's like I was just so closed up at a time where it just felt like I couldn't talk or breathe or say anything to nobody. I was just sitting alone in my room, sitting alone anywhere, honestly, and I just felt like I couldn't release at all, and it felt like I just couldn't breathe at most of the time.
So a time where I couldn't breathe was about 2 years ago. I was having a panic attack. I literally could not breathe. My heart was beating out my chest. And I honestly didn't know what to do. I called my friends, they wouldn't pick up. I'm like, okay, I need help right now. I'm probably gonna call 911. End up calling my praying auntie. And it was, I would say, it was a spiritual kind of like attack, you know, where you just can't breathe. And it's just like, in that moment, Jesus really captured my attention. And from that experience where I really couldn't breathe, it was a whole shift in my spiritual journey, shift in my understanding of the Lord, and He really brought me back from my old ways. I would say that it was like an awakening moment for me. I thought it was physical, hence I couldn't breathe, but it was really spiritual. Okay, if you know, you know. But yeah, ever since then, I've been really like surrendering and walking my life with Christ, even though there's still hiccups here and there, but just keep my eye on Jesus, and yeah.
A moment that I felt like I couldn't breathe. A moment that I felt like I couldn't breathe was when I was in nursing school, and I was crying every single day. I was told that that wasn't the right program for me. I couldn't get nothing right. That was the year that I actually found out and got diagnosed that I had ADHD and anxiety. And I just felt like that I wasn't supposed to be here. The dean of the college told me that I should pick another major, and I just couldn't breathe because all I know is everything was surrounded around my nursing degree. I wasn't a child, so I was actually working as a young adult and in nursing school. So it was a pressure of everybody just assumed that I had it. Everybody assumed that I got everything right, but it wasn't the case. So in the suffocation, I just felt like I was alone. I felt like I had so many responsibilities, but I felt as if I didn't have the resources that I needed.
In that moment, I would probably say obviously Jesus, but a good support system. Back then I wasn't really friends with the best people, so they kind of co-signed on the craziness that I would do to kind of numb the pain of the things that I was unfortunately experiencing. But I would just, charge to whoever is watching this that it's not only Jesus alone. As much as he's very important, it's also important to have that support system and to make sure that you breathe.
What did you need in that moment?
That's such a hard question. What did I need? To find my courage again and remind myself that I am stronger than I think I am. That's what I needed.
To feel loved, that I was being taken care of. To hear from God, to hear from somebody. I was looking for anything that would give me assurance in that moment. But in all the times that I've had panic attacks, I've been by myself. And so I had to rely on what I knew, God's word, that I was okay. And it was self-assurance that even though I felt all the anxiety all at once, that it had no choice but to give in.
Peace.
I needed Jesus in that moment. In that moment when I literally couldn't breathe and I mentioned I called my aunt, she was praying in tongues over me in that moment, and I understood what was happening during that time. And basically what I heard from the Lord was, Kyla, come back to me. Like, what you're doing now or what was happening at the time isn't bringing you closer to me, or like, I want you, I love you. And that's literally what he said to me in the spirit. So I would say what I needed that time was Jesus. What I needed was his presence. I needed his peace. I needed his everything.
All right. What did you need in that moment?
Now I know. Before I didn't. But I did know that I needed something and somebody that was bigger than me. Which leads me to Christ, because I actually started coming to church because of that. My pain, my suffering, my loneliness brought me to First Baptist. I was invited, and I've been here ever since. And I didn't know I needed God's strength. I was trying to do everything alone and by myself, but I needed God's strength. And since then, I've just been walking with Him, and not my own. So it was the Lord and His strength, His guidance, His provision, and His wisdom to give me peace in the time of my circumstance. And I made it.
It's all in my mind.